Great day, everyone. My name is Commissioner Nicole Messiah, and I have the honor and pleasure to serve as the District 3 County Commissioner, as well as the Chair of Planning, Economic Development, Community Services, affectionately known as PECS. I serve alongside first the PO, Commissioner Michelle Longspears from District 2, and then Commissioner Ted Terry from Super District 6. We also have joining us today Commissioner Robert Patrick from District 1. I want to first start out by giving a moment of silence to our fallen firefighter, Mr. Preston Fant, who has been with DeKalb County for over 21 years, a veteran, very well respected, that unfortunately lost his life yesterday in the line of fire, trying to ensure that he is providing safety to our constituents of DeKalb County. And so with that, we'll have a moment of silence for Mr. Preston Fant, please. Thank you so much. And to my colleagues, if you've had an opportunity, particularly committee members, if you've had an opportunity to review the minutes from our August 12, 2025 meeting, I will entertain a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. So that is now approved, and we're going to start with Mr. Stephen P. Smith, Esquire. There is an appointment that he is seeking to our private hospital authority. If you're reading along with us in the agenda, it is agenda item 2025-1070. And Mr. Stephen P. Smith, Esquire, is right here with us. You know, it's interesting because we have a new position in terms of where we're having folks to stand and keeping the continuity from a safety perspective. But I'll tell you, the best class ever, Society DeKalb class of 2020. I haven't seen you in some time.
It's
right.
Great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Absolutely. I have to grab a hug later on. So if you wouldn't mind, for those who don't know you, just tell a little bit about yourself, and we'll go on to asking a couple of questions from there.
No, thank you so much, Commissioner Messiah. And it's great to be here. Appreciate everyone's time and certainly the opportunity to come and talk to each of you. My name is Stephen Smith. I've been in DeKalb County since 2010. I'm originally from Alabama. I moved in 2010 with my wife, and we now have 3 boys. We've lived in unincorporated DeKalb over in Forest Hills, adjacent to Avondale Estates, since 2010. Our kids attend DeKalb schools. I've got a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and 6-year-old boys. I am by trade an environmental attorney. I spent a little over a decade at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, where I did a lot of environmental cleanup and water and waste-related enforcement and compliance work. I'm now with a firm called Beverage and Diamond. We're a national boutique focused on environmental and energy and health and safety issues. And I essentially do exactly what I did at EPA, but now I represent corporate clients to ensure that they're compliant with all the environmental laws. As Commissioner Messiah, you mentioned, I am a proud graduate of Leadership DeKalb 2020.
Best class ever.
Yeah, certainly, and certainly with Commissioner Johnson and also CEO Cochran Johnson also being graduates of that class. I'm a proud, certainly resident and plan to be in DeKalb for a very long time. My wife and I have kind of established our roots here. We're very involved with the community. I'm a proud trustee of Morris Brown College on their board, and I serve on other boards for various community-related things, including previously with my neighborhood association. But happy to kind of talk through whatever questions you may have about my career, background, social, whatever it may be. I'm happy to answer any questions. It's most helpful to you all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to add Nicole Sims, Damon Scott. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on in terms of 2020. With that, thank you for adding the fact that you're not with the EPA anymore. I was wondering if that was the case, but I'm sure your skill set comes in handy. But can you share some other skills or experience that you have that you think helps to qualify you for these boards?
Yeah, so at least as it relates to Decide DeKalb and the economic development, as just a community member along the Memorial Corridor, I know that there is a lot of opportunity with the density growth that's occurring, and I'm certainly someone that has tracked it. I'm someone that stays up in the news. I stay in touch with what DeKalb County is doing, what other municipalities at the local level and also the state level. So I'm certainly someone that is aware of many of the issues. I'm also a recent graduate of Leadership Atlanta, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the community-related issues that cause some of the things that we're trying to address within our communities. And I'm a big proponent of being a part of the solution rather than problem. So that's why I'm here. Economic development related, a lot of my clients are large corporations that I do a lot of environmental due diligence work related to development of formerly industrial or commercial properties, brownfield sites. We certainly have a lot of that in DeKalb County, and there certainly has been some growth, but that's an area of expertise that I can provide in evaluating kind of those environmental risks, as well as sustainability, which is not just kind of for the benefit of the environment and public health, but also has a lot of cost advantages long-term that should always be evaluated when you're seeking out development of certain projects. And so just kind of familiar with those issues, and I'm, have common sense. I like to problem solve. That's my job as an attorney. It's probably what I enjoy the most, to be an asset, to help problem solve, evaluate advantages and disadvantages, risks, rewards, those things like that, and to see action move forward. I'm not someone that likes to kind of sit on my hands. I'm very action-oriented, and I think that would support my role in this capacity.
I would agree. With that, just a few notable highlights. In addition to Leadership DeKalb, Leadership Atlanta, you've got Lead Atlanta, Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt, which Mrs. Atwater is my chief of staff, I'm sure would appreciate. So wanted to highlight.
Process improvement is important. So
there you go. Making sure you have proper systems and procedures in place. 40 Under 40, Georgia Trend Magazine, very impressive. And then again, I know you in terms of what you've done from a legal perspective, but then also, with Leadership DeKalb. So I'll open the floor up for the rest of my colleagues so that they can ask any questions that they have and get more familiar and see why you would be a benefit for the Development and Private Hospital Authority. Commissioner Long-Spears?
Sure. I will ask question number 2. How would you utilize your position as these boards, how would you utilize your position on these boards to work in tandem to address socioeconomic and health disparities across the county? And nice to meet you, sir.
No, likewise, very nice to meet you. So, as we all know, access is typically the primary issue, and it's a lot of times a financial limit that creates inaccess associated with whether it be education or healthcare benefits or a quality job, obviously affordable housing. And so, as I mentioned, being very action-oriented, I'm aware of the issues, and so you really have to hit at the access point. So to be able to help drive DeKalb in its further development on the economic development side that provides for support along those different, areas that have need, access to affordable housing, access to a quality job. I know the economic development aspect of that is heavy on that. Certainly healthcare. I've got 3 young boys. And, health is critical. It's critical for myself, my wife, and my family, but those in my community. We all know that healthcare costs is one of the leading causes of bankruptcy and financial distress. And so being able to kind of problem solve, think through solutions that are most economical to the county, to its staff, as well as the constituents. I'm a taxpayer, so I certainly have that perspective. But again, I like to problem solve, I like to evaluate issues, and would be happy to kind of provide my assistance to these boards.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being with us today. Yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Long-Spears. Commissioner Terry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nice to meet you, Mr. Smith, way in the back there. Apologies for, hopefully we ran you through the metal detector and did a background check, so hopefully you're safe to be in the room with us, but maybe after the interview's done, I can shake your hand.
No, I'd be happy
It's
to.
hard to see away over there, but I can hear you good, loud and clear. But just following up on my colleague's questions, so I'll appreciate reviewing your resume and your, looks like very deep experience in environmental protection and sort of the legal nature of that work. And I did notice in your resume that you had worked on brownfields redevelopment. And so I'll ask you the standard question we ask all the appointees, but maybe just with a little bit of focus on something that I know DeKalb has been working on the last several years, and that's related to brownfield remediation, seeking grants, and for the purpose of redevelopment. So as an appointee on the Development Authority Board, what are your top priorities that you'd like to focus on during your tenure? And then how do you plan to advise the Development Authority regarding those priorities?
Yeah, so, I know that the Southwest DeKalb is a huge priority of the county right now for DeKalb. So I know that there's a comprehensive study that they're evaluating or commencing right now that I would love to kind of jump in and help figure out kind of what issues are preventing further growth and development in Southwest DeKalb. I'm personally connected to the Memorial Drive corridor because I live off Columbia Drive. And so I know that the most recent at the Kroger, at the intersection of Columbia and Memorial is going away. And so kind of evaluating what is the best options for that area. I think that there's tons of opportunity for growth that is both sustainable, getting to the kind of the environmental context, but also provides for quality for the residents that surround that area. And so, I think that the Memorial Corridor would be a special attention to mine, as well as the Southwest DeKalb area, just because it is a priority of DeKalb and their current study. So.
Great, thank you.
As it relates to brownfields, by the way, that certainly, when it comes to development, any developer, when they're buying a formerly industrial or commercial property, they have to evaluate the environmental risks associated with that development. And it can be costly. On the grant side, when I was at EPA, I was one of the grant reviewers for brownfields grants, and so I'm very familiar with that process. What stands out when there's priorities, giving funding for that, and also incentivizing development on those properties, because a lot of times those properties are some of the most prime location spots, but because of the Superfund law, which is the environmental law that creates the liability for developers once they take ownership of a contaminated property, making sure that they're checking the box pre-purchase is a big thing, and us as the county providing incentives to make them kind of jump into that space.
Great. And Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up.
Yes.
So thank you for mentioning that. I'm glad you're really versed in that. I want to give a shout out to Commissioner Patrick, who I think you initiated when you first got on the DeKalb board, the mapping of all the brownfields in DeKalb County. So I really hope that effort that you started, Commissioner Patrick, because now we know where they all are at.
Yes.
And hopefully that can be aligned with economic development and the environmental justice efforts that I think, and obviously there's some communities that have been overly burdened by heavy industrial or environmental pollution. And so hopefully that's something that will aid you in advising the board. And really appreciate your depth of knowledge on that issue.
Yeah, happy to.
Commissioner Patrick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I would add is that the Brownfield Fund is well capitalized, so any opportunities that come along, I think that there's a great opportunity with that synergy of the federal funds available, the program set up along with the mapping as called out. I think that would be a great opportunity to help incentivize redevelopment in the county. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Patrick. Really are there any other questions or comments? Thank you so much, Mr. Smith, Attorney Smith, for being here today and giving us an opportunity to hear your depth of knowledge and, sharing why you believe. And many of us, I'm sure, agree a great addition to the authorities here, both development and the private hospital. So Ms. Shannon will follow up with you after this process. But again, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate you. And then also my Chief of Staff, Mrs. Atwaters. Mrs. Atwaters, I just want to make sure you guys, because I don't know that I still have your cell phone number.
Yeah, we'll
make sure,
connect.
make sure you have each other's contact information. And I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate the time and appreciate what each of you do. So,
All right, thank you. Talk to you later. Thank you so much. And so we also have a TAD mid-year financial presentation, and that will be provided by VP Tiffany Wills. Great afternoon, Ms. Wills.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hello. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tiffany Wills, Vice President of Redevelopment and Strategic Initiatives.
Yeah. Yes. And so there are new guidelines in terms of who can approach which podium. And with you being a DeKalb employee, you could actually come to the second podium because it's just, yes, right. Just trying to follow the procedures. Keep a continuity in the procedures. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see you all.
Great afternoon.
So presenting our mid-year TAD financial update, which will include figures for both Q1 and Q2. Our total tax increment revenue generated in the first 6 months of this year was approximately $1.1 million. Current TAD fund balance for Avondale is $5 million, 16.3 for Briarcliff. Kensington sits at 6.2. Market Square, of course, one of our newest tax allocation districts created 2 years ago, is at $580,000, and Southwest DeKalb, created 1 year previously, is at $626,000. So net annual income combined is at $1.1 million. So we also wanted to provide an update on project disbursements and then also TAD funding applications that we have in the pipeline, just to demonstrate that we're currently reviewing a number of financial applications for potential award. So to date, Kensington has had 4 TAD awards under Decide DeKalb's leadership, 1 for Market Square. Kensington has dispersed $118,000. We're working with that property owner and the applicant to disperse the rest of the funding. And then Market Square, of course, is the redevelopment of North DeKalb Mall. Lula Hills, their $70 million award is a TAD pay-as-you-go reimbursable grant. So those funds will not be dispersed until they've reached a certain point of construction, and then you'll see annual deductions. So we currently have 8 TAD eligible pending applications that we're reviewing. Once we've done full underwriting and confirmed their eligibility, we will inform the commissioners of those pending applications before they go to our board of directors. The total TAD funding requests are $22.5 million. Here's a further breakout of those projects based off of tax allocation district. Total project cost is for each redevelopment project that is applying. That's their total development cost all in. The funding that they were requesting from the TAD, of course, will be contingent upon the amount of funds in each of the TAD special funds, and then the percentage of the total cost in comparison to their total project cost. Just a reminder, these are the 5 active funding applications that we currently have available. Not every TAD will have the same funding programs, of course, based off of funding availability, but we've seen a lot of activity in our TADs and are excited to see these projects coming to fruition and for approval. And also, of course, our TAD GIS map, if you're looking to see if a property is located in one of our tax allocation districts, you can scan the QR code, enter in the property address, and then, of course, contact our office for applications. For the TAD advisory committees, Dorian has informed me that they are working with county staff to address a lot of the concerns that have been brought up by the commissioners, Commissioner Terry, and that he's going to coordinate with BOC staff to get on the agenda for another PECS meeting to provide an update. Any questions?
Not, Would you like to continue the presentation and then answer questions afterwards, or would you like questions?
Oh, no, I'm finished, so
Okay,
I'll take
all right,
questions.
that's it. All right, fantastic. Just wanted to be certain and that you had an opportunity to thoroughly present, because we really do appreciate you being here and the updates in terms of the information. And I know you have limited time, and we're keeping the purposes of this update specifically on the financials as obligated. And I know that there's other topics as it relates to TAD that we will deal with at a later date, particularly any additional committees or what have you. But it's good to see where we are in terms of the numbers, because that gives us an idea of what the TADs are doing in each of the specific areas. So thank you so much for that. With that, I believe Commissioner Terry was first. Commissioner Terry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here. Appreciate the updates. And actually maybe my first question is for probably the law department on the, if you don't mind putting the first slide up or the second slide with the financials on it. So, I think we're all now aware that when in 2018, when DeKalb began managing the TAD special funds, prior to that, TAD funds were collected. I think that's how you're denoting it here. So the TAD funds that are post-2018, I believe they're under the direction and control and in essence of the ability to allocate. Is that the same for the DeKalb County assets pre-2018?
So DeKalb manages all of the awards. So for example, for Avondale, the county's currently holding $2.6 million. If we have a TAD award that is only $1 million, we would request that the county disperse those $1 million to DeKalb for us to invest into that project.
Okay, so you need board action for
Correct.
anything that's prior to 2018. Okay, all right. And I do appreciate, I think, Dorian, and I think you do, keep me updated on potential TAD funding requests. For the most part, for the most recent ones, although I'm actually not, I don't think I'm aware of the 3 pending allocations for $12.3 million. I think that's important that y'all just make sure that every commissioner that is representing, the 2 commissioners, or in some cases more than that, represent the TAD boundaries, that they just be aware of what projects are applied for. So Briarcliff and North Druid Hills, there's 3 applications for $12.3 million. I don't think I could actually name which those are.
So 2 of those, we are still waiting for additional information from the applicant, so we have not fully vetted that development to ensure, number one, that we would be able to disperse all of the funds that they are requesting. So we provided these numbers to show what is being requested. Once we do fully vet those items and we're confident that we have a financially feasible development that can succeed with our TAD funding, then that's typically when Dorian will share the information of the project.
Okay, so 2 of them you're still waiting on information. What's the other one?
The other, I believe, Dorian may have sent earlier last week. It is.
Last week, okay.
So I will ensure that he shared the project fact sheet with you all.
Okay, gotcha. And I do believe y'all are considering, I don't think it's on this list, but for the Avondale Columbia Drive one, isn't there one that y'all are considering for an affordable housing project this week?
Yes. So that's going to our board of directors, and that's Cottages of Midway. That is included in the $3.8 million.
Okay.
And then there is one other application that's still pending review.
Okay. And I think that's important for all the commissioners to understand the dynamics of that project. We had a conversation this morning about how do we ensure developers build affordable housing? And case in point, if you have an affordable housing trust fund, if you have a tax allocation district, if you have the mechanisms to provide public subsidies to ensure that either rental or for sale products are at a certain price range, that in essence is how you can create truly affordable housing within the appropriate ranges. So I think that would be a really important one to share, because I believe what y'all are, or what's been asked, is that those cottage homes be sold at below market rate. with the TAD funding to subsidize that. So I just, that's, and this is just a learning exercise for us because we haven't really, I think this is one of the first affordable housing disbursements y'all have done through the TADs. So that just would be good for us to understand that, we can do zoning, right? Like that's one piece of the puzzle, but there's lots of layers to how you get to affordable housing and the different income ranges.
Yep, absolutely. And moving forward, as we do our TAD financial updates, it will include projects that have been approved and a summary of what the funding was, what it's going to support, how it's going to function. I didn't present that in this presentation because our board of directors has not heard that project yet, and they may request some changes to the deal. So I don't want to bring you all a presentation that then subsequently is going to change, but we will be sure to include those approvals and the project summaries moving forward.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Terry. Commissioner Long-Spears?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Ms. Wills, as always, thank you for being with us. I do have questions, and please forgive me if I repeat one that Commissioner Terry asked because I was putting out a little fire just a few minutes ago. So on your, was that your first slide? Your first slide, not your cover, but I guess page one of the presentation. For Briarcliff North Druid Hills, you have a TBD for TAD expiration date?
Yes. So in 2007, when that TAD was created, there was not a state law requirement for there to be a termination date indicated when the TAD was created. So that original BOC approval in the redevelopment plan does not have a termination date. So if there is a date that the Board of Commissioners would like to designate a termination date, that would take additional legislation to make that decision and to close the TAD.
My understanding is that in the absence of a date, there is a maximum of 50 years. Is that correct?
I will check with legal and provide you with a confirmation.
Okay, so you will check into that, and then you have submitted to us that if we wanted it to be a different date, that we'll have to take action up here to have that included.
Correct.
Okay, just making sure I'm clear. All right, the next slide, please. So and I did catch a little bit of what Commissioner Terry was saying regarding the Briarcliff North Druid Hills. So there are 3 pending applications that total $12,389,000.
Correct.
And I believe you said that 2 of them are pending because they require more information, and 1 is being deliberated on soon by your board. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. It won't be this week, but we are anticipating that that will go to our board in October.
Okay, so it'll be October. And if the information is provided to you on the other 2 prior to October, you will also hear those 2 as well?
Yes, so long as we have enough time for legal to prepare all the documents. And then once that decision is made to proceed with the board meeting, then we will provide you all with the fact sheets and the background information on what those transactions are.
Okay, and you have alerted the applicants of missing information?
Yes, several times.
Okay, so the ball is in their court.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, my next question is under the Kensington TAD. It looked like their Kensington Memorial TAD, that there were 4 previous awards that totaled $243,933. And I'm just kind of looking at the difference here. With Market Square, there's 1, which I'm fully aware of, at the $70 million there. So the 243, what projects? Are they art projects, pothole? I mean...
So they were
Soccer in the Streets.
Yes, Soccer in the Streets is one. The redevelopment of Burlington Coat Factory and Memorial Drive is another. And then there was also another MARTA, Kensington MARTA station related project. So they were under what was previously our Small Business Property Improvement Grant. So those have smaller increments and smaller awards. Since we have updated our funding tools and the availability of funding, we're now seeing a lot more robust applications and requests for funding.
Okay, great. And we do know the $70 million is pay-as-you-go. If you would go to the, pardon? Oh, yes, okay, all right, thank you for that. Okay, and then the next page for the mid-year 2025 TAD applications. So Market Square, Again, just explain that to me. There's one application received, total project cost was $66,000, and then total TAD funding, that just relates to the pay-as-you-go, correct?
So this specific application is for the Small Business Property Improvement Grant. The applicant is proposing to buy the adjoining commercial space, complete some renovations to expand their operations. So this will actually come out of the existing cash on hand balance. And for that specific development in the Market Square TAD, they are able to apply for up to 75% of the funding. Or I'm sorry, 66% of their total cost.
Okay. Don't want to waste the committee's time, but I will probably have more questions for you about that item. Shall I just email you?
Yes, please.
Okay. And then I believe that concludes my questions on the financial presentation. I believe my next question will be for Commissioner Messiah. So I'm understanding that you only want to discuss the financial update today and probably not the TAD advisory committees, TAD acts as Dorian calls them?
That is correct. My understanding is that the presentation, as it has thus far, is going to focus purely on the financial update and ensuring that we, as a committee, actually have updates related to the financials. Any discussions outside of the financials, including the creation, development, or expansion of a TAD committee, will be presented and discussed later on.
So when will that be discussed?
Similar to what we just shared in terms of the questions we just asked, that you could take them offline. I believe that you guys have been having, or at least yourself, been having conversation with President DeBar, and I'm sure Ms. Wills, along with the rest of the DeKalb team, are happy to answer whatever questions related to that offline. But as it relates to the purposes of their presentation today, it was of the financials.
All right, then a question related to that, so I understand my timetable and I'm clear on the process. So, Ms. Wills, from what I understand, is that your board will be voting on the TAD acts coming up soon. However, it sounds like there is still a few things to iron out between DeKalb and legal.
Correct.
Okay. At one point, it was told to me by our law team that this is not really a law issue. So I'm trying to understand, this might need to be the county attorney that explains this to me. What is the holdup if I was told this is not a legal issue? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
And so respectfully, I'm going to ask that we, again, as it relates to the TAG committee, that we have conversations related to that offline, opposed to having it during the course of this presentation. So if it relates specifically on the financials and the updates as provided, any questions related to that, that's fine. But as it relates to the committee itself, that conversation be taken offline, whether through legal, DeKalb, but that conversation take place in any form offline, opposed to in this committee right now.
Well, let me then relate it to financial. So the TAD Act committees, the purpose of them was to advise on projects. And today, during your presentation, you have illustrated several projects that have already been approved and several pending projects that have been approved. There is a dollar amount associated with all of them that I believe would be best suited and best for DeKalb constituents to receive feedback from these TAD Act committees. So I do believe this does relate to funding, and I'm just trying to understand, one, this has been going on for everybody's knowledge since June of 2023. Commissioner Terry and I both drafted a letter co-sent to you all related to the TAD Act committees. So that has been 2 years and 3 or 4 months at this point that this has been going on. I would say at some point we need to stop kicking the can down the road on this. And I don't believe that it's been your lane. I think there's been a whole lot of back and forth. We have had now 3 county attorneys that have touched this. So my message is this, is that I am respectfully requesting to both the PECS chair and to decide DeKalb is that whatever needs to happen to get these committees set up, while I'm told it's not a legal issue, that we get that done before the end of the year so we can start out January 1st with all of our TADAC committees in place. I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Long-Spears. Commissioner Terry? Commissioner Patrick?
Yeah, I know this conversation's been going on for some time, and respectfully to Tiffany, I think it's probably a better conversation to be having with the director, Mr. DeBar, directly with us. So when he is ready, I guess when the conversation is ready to happen, I think respectfully, Madam Chair, if you could invite Mr. DeBar here, and then we have the conversation with him on that topic.
Absolutely, and that's a conversation that had been had, particularly as we're talking about the presentation and wanting to make sure there was an allocation, a proper allocation of time, and had an opportunity to have a robust conversation in and around, for instance, now we're dealing with the financials. The financials is coming back at another time to deal with the TAG committee, but as of today. So yes, I'm certain when they're ready to present and have additional feedback and information related to that will move forward, and we'll happily, have them here to be able to present for us. With that, I thank you so much, Ms. Wills. Thank you so much for your time. And we're going to move on to, we're going to back up just a tad bit. I want to make sure that we are not forgetting to vote for Attorney Smith, Mr. Smith. And so if you're following along, we're going to just go back to page 1 briefly, area 2 under appointments, and that's 2025-1070. All commission districts appoint Mr. Stephen P. Smith, Esquire, to post 8 of the Development Authority of DeKalb County and post 8 of the Private Hospital Authority. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. And I've got a quick question.
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, quick question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other ones that we have approved had 3 appointment posts, but this one only has 2. Can someone explain that, please?
Yes, one of the boards, I believe it's the Residential Care Authority, doesn't have the same number of appointees as the other 2 boards. So just to make it more complicated, where the 3 boards are supposed to dovetail and one appointee goes on all 3, that's true of all but 1.
So they got to leave when they have the other board meetings.
Or at least don't get to vote. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that question and the response. Deputy County Attorney Welch. We have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you so much. The next item, for those following along with us, on page 2, the top of page 2, 2025-1138, all commission districts, change order number 2 to contract number 1294379, in-home services for older adults, persons with disabilities, and their caregivers for the use by the Department of Human Services. This contract consists of the provision of in-home services, i.e. homemaker, personal care, and in-home respite for the non-medical home and community-based services, HCBS, to older adults and persons with disabilities who reside in DeKalb County. This request seeks consent to assign the contract and all of the remaining contract funds associated, as well as the term from PECS Health Care Center Services, Inc., to Coastal Home Care LLC DBA Help at Home. Mr. Scott, thank you. Director Scott, how are you doing?
Madam Chair, members of the PECS committee, this is for in-home services and advisory.
Mike.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the PECS committee. This is for in-home services in an existing contract. This is certified nursing assistants that assist our seniors in-home services. So the current provider no longer is providing the service. So we're seeking consent to transfer the remaining funds through the remainder of the year to another approved provider, so there won't be any gaps in services and continue business as usual.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that you guys were able to locate another provider so that the transition could happen seamlessly, particularly when we're talking about providing these services. With that, Commissioner Terry, I believe you had your hand up first in terms of asking questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Scott, can you remind me, so the funding is ARC grant and then reserve for senior funds. What's the breakdown? How much is the ARC grant and what's the reserve for senior funds?
I would have to get you the specifics as it relates to that, but the in-home services is part of the annual $2.1 million allocation that we receive for overall for all of our senior services, so we can get you an actual breakdown of what percentage of that is.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be
in-home.
good just to have in the agenda item. It's not exactly clear in the change order request form, which I guess makes sense because we're just changing the contractor. And then in terms of changing from REMKIX to coastal home care, is the same in the contract? Do we stipulate the minimum wage or the wage ranges?
The county does not stipulate the minimum range for the services. However, the range for the in-home aides ranges between $13 and $15 that most of the private providers pay.
Okay, and so coastal home care is providing that range as well?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So I certainly support the efforts of this grant. It's obviously vital, home health care and services. The problem that I do have is that someone who's doing a service like this, making $13 an hour, is not a livable wage. $15 an hour is not a livable wage. In fact, actually, DeKalb County, we're at, I think, Zach, now a little bit under $18 an hour. It's like $17.70 or something. I think next year is supposed to check in, Zach, for the cost of living adjustment. So, and I'm just going to speak broadly about the labor market and the everything is more expensive, right? We could talk about all sorts of things that are more expensive. And the concern I have is that the caregivers who do this work, it's some of the hardest work that you can do. There's a lot of hard work out there. I'm not going to say it's the hardest work, but it is. I'll speak from personal experience because I was a nursing assistant in a nursing home, and I actually made $18 an hour in 2002 because we were under a union contract. And so the fact that we got home health care workers, CNAs, certified nursing assistants, in 2025 making $13 an hour is disappointing. It really is. And so I just think that in these contracts, I don't see why we can't set some sort of wage rate. If we're the ones providing the funds, if we're using apparently some of our own funds to provide these services, it seems that we should pay a minimum living wage. And you could argue a living wage is actually closer to $30 an hour when you really factor in everything. But I'd submit that at least if the county government is going to do a $17, close to $18 minimum wage, that our contractors should match that.
That's something that we can discuss with the purchasing and contracting department. Ultimately, as you know, Commissioner, in the process, the private companies, they set their rates of what they want to pay their employees, and we go through the procurement process and respond to the highest bidder and that can meet the qualifications and can provide the service. So that's how it goes, and but that is something, a conversation we can have with our purchasing department.
Okay. So when we advertised, well, I guess when we got REMKIX, we put out an RFP, and they're the ones who got, I guess you said highest bidder, you meant lowest bidder.
Lowest bidder, yes, sorry, lowest bidder, sorry.
Okay. Right. So, and Zach, can you just, and we can talk about this at FAB, because it's more purchasing policy, but is that something that the administration, because this expires or we're doing this change order till June 30th, 2026. When will the next RFP for this in-home services for older adults, persons with disabilities, and their caregivers, when will this contract be put back out to bid?
It's going to expire in the spring, so we're going to need a contract extension, and at that time, we can look at it.
Okay. Well, Madam Chair, I mean, I don't want to hold this up because I know we're just changing the contract vendor and it's under an existing contract, but my preference would be if before y'all put out the contract RFP, that you come back to the PECS committee and just share what the contract scope is, in particular what the wage range you're going to be advertising is. And I'm looking at Zach, actually. You don't have to answer that.
It's something that we can talk about in the context of next year's budget, and of course, our desire to pay a living wage wherever possible, of course. So, there may be opportunities to set a standard across the board that's worth discussing. We're not prepared to have that conversation today, but I've seen that.
Okay. And maybe just as a follow-up for this contract, if y'all could just, maybe by the end of the year, or maybe just in the beginning of next year, as this year closes out, just share how much of the contract is going to salaries, how much is going to the actual company, just a little transparency on how they're conducting their business. And I know they're doing their business, and I've seen it in other healthcare companies, and I'm not saying this is one of a situation, but usually what you see are healthcare companies give the CEOs and the C-suite folks the six-figure salaries, and they get large increases in their salaries when their workers either don't see anywhere near commensurate increases in salaries. And that's not an indictment of this. It's just a general statement about the healthcare industry in general. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and also the consideration in terms of the time. Thank you. I want to try to get through our agenda and adhering to some of the concerns of the committee members, and that, sometimes it goes a little lengthy, and want to be able to move things along and start FAB on time. But with that, I think the other just very brief comment, because I agree in terms of the living wage, is that we might need to get legal involved in this, because when we start giving very specific dynamics in terms of how much they should employ their employers for and other benefits, that goes into the potential of going from them at that point being a vendor or doing business as an independent contractor to potential challenges from a legal perspective, where they could be argued that we're directing them as employees, particularly if we're talking about how much they should pay folks in their business. So as we're looking at that in its entirety, I'd suggest we have legal, and just have more robust conversations and build it from there. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you. Again, we have item number 2025, 1138. I'm sorry, Commissioner Longspears, did you have anything to add? Commissioner Patrick? Okay, alrighty. So that's on 2025-1138. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair, and just
Yes.
with the stipulation that the administration will come back to us with more information about the issues that we discussed in the next pending RFP.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item, 2025-1135, Commission Districts 1 and 7, change order number 1 to contract number 200067 for RFP number 24-500667 Presidential Parkway, Embry Hills Arts and Cultural Small Area Plan, SAP, for the use by the Department of Planning and Sustainability. This contract consists of providing professional services for creating, revitalizing, and/or recreating the brand of the Presidential Parkway, Embry Hills Regional Town Center. This request seeks to increase the scope of the services and the contract awarded to Pond and Company, Inc., the amount of which is not to exceed $110,000. Great afternoon. Thank you for being with us today.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Madam Chair. My name is Lillian Al-Haddad. I'm a Senior Project Manager with Pond & Company. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here to go over this item today. I did prepare a few slides to go over the scope change and what instigated the conversation today. A little bit of history over here. So this project started off in March this year and was scheduled to close in September, so 6 months. The scope of the RFP was very much focused on placemaking and public art and public realm enhancements within that time frame. As we continued progressing and started our community engagement, other priorities started to shape up with this community. We heard from the walking tour, but also from different public engagements that we had, that open space is a priority, tree canopies is a priority, updated infrastructure is a priority. What we heard across the board is the community wants safer streets, they want more quality open spaces, and they want catalytic development that's intentional. And so the team took a kind of a step back, and we thought, what are we trying to achieve as part of this plan? And the answer across the board was, we want to achieve a thriving community. And to be able to address that, we don't want to address the aesthetics without also dealing with some of the health issues that are existent in the community. So again, we took a deeper dive into what safer streets can look like for this community, what accessible open spaces can add, how they can add value, and what intentional development can do to both the businesses and the residential community to achieve a thriving community that has its own identity and its own creative placemaking brand. We kind of laid out what are some of the things that are part of our scope that we're still able to engage, and what are some of the items that are currently need to be an ad service. The biggest items over here is really looking at the streets and the mobility conditions in the study area, looking at conserving the resources, the natural resources that the community is very proud of, and looking at intentional redevelopment and what that looks like for the businesses. Again, as part of that discussion, we are expanding the study area boundary to include communities that are very much relevant and impactful to the presidential parkway area. This map over here shows in the blue line the proposed updated site boundary. The purple hatch shows the kind of the initial study area boundary that we started with. And in here you can see that we've added presidential Embry Hills community over here. We've added the Pleasantdale community to the north. We've added the area next to the North Lake Mall to the south, plus the businesses that are around it. So what we're proposing over here is an expanded study area boundary, an expanded scope that really caters to what the community wants and the community needs. And with that, we're requesting an extension of the timeline for another 6 months, 6 to 7 months, to go over, again, a revision of the existing conditions, a bigger study area, and a bigger strategy for the overall expanded boundary. That will include also a design workshop so that we assure the community are on board and they are engaged as part of the design process. And again, a final open house to make sure the community knows that have a final chance to review the recommendations before they go out and become public. So that's in summary kind of what we were thinking of as a team. And I do want to thank the leadership of Commissioner Patrick over here, but also Mr. Larry Washington and Ms. April King, who have been, their leadership and their vision has been very inspiring throughout this journey. And thank you.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate you. Commissioner Terry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know this is Commissioner Patrick's project, so fully support what you're trying to do, and these small area plans are really important for us as commissioners over land use and zoning to make decisions that are very important to the future of our communities. I'll first just make a plug to Zach and TJ, to the administration, that we need to continue to put small area planning funds into the budget. And so my preference would be that it would just be in the December 10th budget. But I just, there's so many things that a single commissioner or two commissioners in their offices just don't have the capacity to do when it comes to these small area plans and how specific and how broad they can be. And so when you have someone like Pond or, there's several planning companies that do this work, it really, really helps us build community support consensus around a future vision, right, that actually hopefully leads to economic development and smart and sustainable growth. So that's my plug there. And then just wanted to confirm that everything was good, because I think, Commissioner Patrick, you had allocated some funds yourself, but the agenda item, it says only $55,000 has been spent to date. So I just want to make sure, because the original award was $143,000, but only $55,000 has been spent. So I'm just trying to make sure the numbers are aligning with what I'm seeing on the page, and that we're not missing anything.
No, that's correct. We kind of stopped in the middle of our design process, took a halt, so we didn't really spend the full budget. We're still working through the placemaking strategy, but we did want to step back to have a more holistic look before we continue with the plan itself.
Okay. So maybe you can clarify, Commissioner, because you had allocated some funds, but then we still had the $143,000 that was allocated in October of 2024, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, and starting sort of where you began with the idea of money for the small area plans, it's a fantastic idea. I think that's the best way that we can engage with the communities on a neighborhood or even on a door-to-door basis, is having those conversations. This conversation was all started around the notion of placemaking. But I knew that as we had Pond come out as the contractor to start asking questions and engaging with people, that it was going to expand beyond. I want to have nice stuff, and I want to have an identity for my community, but I'm worried about speeding. I'm worried about pedestrian safety. I don't feel like I have enough parks in my neighborhood. I'm concerned about the quality of different retail that's in the area, and I want something more, and how do we get that? And I think that's essentially what Lillian and her team has come up with to date. So yes, the budget was about $143,000 initially, but the conversations we had and the level of engagement, frankly, we've had was so overwhelming that we realized that, I think it's page 8, on the slides, the initial area, sort of the shopping plaza inside 285, going all the way down to Shallowford Road where Publix is, and then picking up where Kroger is on Chamblee Tucker Road. That was a good start, but really it needs to expand to all of the other commercial facilities. Some of the concerns we discussed, there is a very well-known international shipping company that has a facility in the location, and earlier in the summer they had mentioned that facilities would be closing, and so it was a concern to say, let's reach out to that company and find out what their plan is long-term for the area. Thankfully, they've made investments in it, so that means they're going to be there for the long term. But then the next question that came along is well, what is it that your employees like in the area that would sort of reinforce you wanting to stay as part of members of the community, not necessarily an island, but a engaged member in the community? And they said, well, different types of restaurants. They love the King, Burger King, that is, but they wanted something a little. One King is okay. One King is okay. But they want more options for their employees as well, sort of more ways to tie into the community. So as Lillian said, sort of things paused around, was it our July? Our July engagement at the Mediterranean restaurant. And then the idea was to come back with this much more expanded map that you see here. In my mind, the idea is from Shallowford Road to Briarcliff Way, going north all the way up to County Line, Pleasantdale Road, we're going to be engaging with those residents and the businesses that are in the area. So that will take more money, it will take more time, and I believe they have a plan for 6 to 8 months is the ask for the extension on the contract with the $110,000 extra that I'm putting into it. But the idea is to have that very granular engagement with the residents, so that we can hear what they want to hear or see in the community. As you know, I take a lot of my time, as Mr. Lemke knows I take a lot of my time driving, finding potholes and broken sidewalks and other things that residents are concerned about that they mentioned to me, and documenting and trying to get those things fixed. But I thought rather than on a reactive basis, perhaps a proactive approach to the question is what's there. So for instance, the residents that live up in the Northcrest area have concerns on Northcrest Road about 2 smaller roads and left-hand turns. There have been some accidents there that they're good T-bone type accidents. The transportation component to that as well. And that's where it becomes more like a full LCI.
Gotcha.
And then to circle back to the beginning of our conversation where you started off was, you know, if we had that conversation on funding these small area plans, perhaps we ought to just say we're going to fund them at a minimum LCI level, and we ask all the questions at the beginning on the front end. We get the full engagement from the residents within each of our districts or communities, and it is perceived the county is proactive on engagement from that point onward.
Okay. Thank you. And Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up. So thank you for explaining that, Commissioner Patrick, and certainly support your efforts on this agenda item. And then I think just to that effort, I think what we had hopefully between the planning department and procurement and Zach, I don't know if y'all have sort of finalized this, but the idea was to have a single RFP, an on-call that would have sort of like a mini small area plan, a medium one, and then sort of the full-fledged LCI one, and that the funding would allow commissioners to operate within whether you need the full one, the Cadillac version, or sort of just a little sort of zoomed in one in a smaller area. So Zach, is that something, and I don't know if planning, I know it's really important for next year's budget, but I think the idea was to kind of get that in process so that hopefully by March 1st of next year, budget's approved, we've got some small area funding capacity, and then we can simply work with the planning department on a more dynamic basis for how to implement that on-call plan.
Yeah, so that's something we're putting together. I think we just started that conversation in the last week or so.
Yes.
But yeah, the intent is to have what I call like a library of services.
Yes.
Where you can pick from various contractors. So we're working on that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I appreciate that, Commissioners, in piggybacking on ensuring that we have some folks on call. It just makes it easier when we need something to move forward and not having to go through so much of the process and just causing a lot of different delays. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's something we've talked about previously, and I think is something good to implement. So great to hear that the administration is open to it, so we can move that forward. With that, we are, Commissioner
Just
Patrick?
one,
Sure, of course, yes.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
And Lillian, thank you for what you've done to date. Fantastic work. Just want to confirm the map here does call out most of the commercial areas, but the residential areas that are abutting in unincorporated District 1 are going to be part of this overall planning study?
Absolutely. With community engagement, hopefully all the residents will be involved.
Perfect. And then just one more note, there's a teeny bit of unincorporated commercial buildings sort of in the Doraville area. Just want to make sure we've got those included as well. Okay. And as long as that's good, then I am eager to ask my colleagues for support on this one. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I was going to ask Commissioner Longspears. Do you have, okay. All righty. So Commissioner Cherry made a proper motion.
With the amendment to the map.
Made a proper second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, if you're following along, we're still on page 2. That's number 2025-11. I'm sorry, 2025-1190. Commission districts 6, and actually it'll be 3 and 6, to appropriate $50,000 of general fund, planning fund, and $2,128.44 of District 6 reserve for appropriations totaling $52,128.44. It's a Farmer D consultant to begin development of a Boulder Crest Overlay District master plan as a part of the Village Conservation Community as outlined in the DeKalb 2050 Unified Plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll be happy to speak on this, and then would love for you to chime in here, because I think what we're looking for, committee members, is a potential amendment to this agenda item that hopefully, if we get agreement, we can have staff help us finalize it. And so, first off, I just want to apologize to District 3 Commissioner Messiah for not being more proactive in the planning of this very special area in DeKalb County, the Boulder Crest Cedar Grove community, long history, a lot of plans over the years that community members really had hoped would bring economic development and new opportunities to their community, and it's something that we still have to work on. And so the important thing that I want to say here today is that, you know, this has to be a joint effort between the district commissioner and the super commissioner to ensure that the future and how the community participates in these planning processes is full. It ensures that everyone's at the table. And so Madam Chair, what I would love to entertain is any potential amendments to this agenda item that would add in additional planning capacity. Maybe, I think we want to do a budget increase as well, recommendation, so that we can really keep the effort going, but making sure that we're being holistic in our approach. Certainly appreciate the long-range planning division of being part of that as well, because that's obviously a huge, that's part of your job, and we really appreciate that, your expertise and guidance. So would love to entertain any potential amendments to this agenda item that would bring additional capacity on to do this work.
And I appreciate that so much, Commissioner Terry, in that, just working collaboratively gives us an opportunity to best serve our constituents, being able to work with the administration. I'm fortunate to have some great folks all across the board that are really committed and dedicated to giving the best that we have to the constituents and to DeKalb County as a whole. So thank you for that. And I believe as a discussion, it was the amendment to appropriate $100,000 of the general fund. And then my proposal was that in addition to the to Farmer D consulting, would be another architect that would also be able to that would be B certified, B Corp certified, and with B Corp certification, essentially all the projects that they design have to have that element of community benefit, and that's to what Commissioner Robert Patrick spoke to earlier, and we were just having a discussion about just that quality of life and benefit, that well-being aspect of development growth, and whether it's housing and general economic development and on and on and on, just making sure that we're being intentional, responsible, and strategic to serve our communities in the way that we have the capacity to do, and making sure they're getting the best of what they can intentionally for them. So I appreciate that, and we can move on. I mean, we've had an extensive conversation about it. Sure. Yes. Yes, I just want to first give Commissioner Logspear's opportunity if she wants to speak on this. Commissioner Patrick, is there? Okay. All right. Fantastic. So, yes. So, it's the Cigna works, and we'll make sure that we get those particular details and be able to add those, since we have to make have a substitute anyway, as it relates to the amount.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so Madam Chair, the motion is to approve item 1190 and the addition of an additional $50,000 into the funding for this planning process. We would like for the administration and the planning department to help us, fine tune the agenda item for a substitute at the next BOC meeting, to include Sigma Works. So basically, we'd be having additional capacity for this planning process.
Yes.
I think we have acknowledged that we want this in essence, to be sort of the beginning, but, there'll be more, more deeper planning that hopefully will begin also later in 2026. And so that is the motion. Hopefully I've said everything that staff can capture, but we can follow up. So motion is to approve item 1190 with the addition of $50,000 to this agenda item to include Sigma Works in the planning process.
And I second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. All right, again, those following along, we are still on page 2 with item number 2024-1237, all commission districts, a request for the Director of Planning and Sustainability to amend the DeKalb County nuisance ordinance to add a closure of chronic nuisance properties ordinance chapter. Attorney Phillips.
Hi, Madam Chair. I'd just like to remind the sponsoring Commissioner Patrick, that we have another discussion scheduled this week, so we would ask for a deferral so we could complete that discussion and come back to the committee.
That'll work. And that'll be for all three of the, or just this one in particular?
That's just this one. The comments will be different on the other two.
Okay.
So if we could do them piecemeal.
That'll work.
That would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic.
As Attorney Phillips suggested, I guess 30 days, is that?
Okay. All righty.
Does that work?
Any comments and questions, Commissioner Long-Spears?
Thank you very much. I am requesting if Mr. Phillips, please, would set a meeting with my office to discuss this item a little bit further.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Terry.
Yeah, okay, and I'm good for the deferral, so we're going to defer 1238, 1239, and just those two?
1237.
And 1237, sorry, I missed that
Well,
one.
Commissioner Patrick, my ask was that it would be just 1237.
Okay.
Our comments on 1238 and 1239 are different. You may elect to defer them once you hear from us, but
Okay.
we have different comments
Then
on
we'll-
those. So if we
we'll do
could
that.
do them individually, please.
Okay. Fantastic. So can you repeat your motion, Commissioner Terry, for 1237?
Motion to defer for 30 days.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. We are now on item 2024-1238, all commission districts, an ordinance to amend Chapter 18 of the Code of DeKalb County, Georgia, as revised 1988, to add a new article, 9, related to blighted property to allow a millage rate increase for blighted properties and other purposes.
Commissioner, this item has been reviewed. We feel that the ordinance is in a form that can be approved by the law department. I understand the administration has given it a review as well. I do think that your colleagues may need to see the most recent draft and have discussion, but Supervising Attorney Nicole Agner is prepared to walk you through the item or answer any questions you have substantively if you wanted to lead that discussion.
Okay. Obviously, I'm very familiar with what the request is. Would you mind just giving a B, C, D, what's being asked, what's being proposed, and take it from there?
Absolutely, Commissioner. So Nicole Agner, Supervising County Attorney, and before you, you have an ordinance related to blighted property. And what is in iLegislate is the most recent version. It's dated April 21st, 2025. And essentially, the ordinance establishes a redevelopment tax to protect neighborhoods from further blight. It's authorized by the Georgia State Constitution, and the ordinance includes criteria and a procedure for designation as blighted. A property is considered blighted if it is unfit for habitation or unfit for commercial, industrial, or business use and not in compliance with applicable codes, or if the property is vacant and being used for illegal activities or poses a public health risk. I will note for you that a dwelling house that is being used as a primary residence will not be designated as blighted, and that's pursuant to state law. So the process for designation involves a request from the Director of Code Compliance Administration. There's an investigation conducted by the county, and then a court order would need to be entered declaring a property blighted. The court's order will specify what must be done to remove the blighted designation and set a deadline for the compliance. And then blighted properties are subject to tax rate 10 times the normal millage rate, continuing until that designation is removed. And the increased tax revenue can be allocated for community redevelopment purposes. And the blighted designation and the increased tax rate remain with the property even if the ownership changes. So once property owners remediate blighted properties, the designation can be removed following court-specified actions. And then once the designation is removed, the property tax rate is reduced to half the normal rate for 2 years. And that's essentially the high points of the ordinance.
So in my career, there's always been conversations, even going back to Norcross, and this was during the Great Recession, when the notion of a vacant property registry that the state legislature allowed to happen. There was a $100 fee that went with it, and it was very helpful for code enforcement. But I think the state also contemplated another way to, if a property owner is being particularly uncooperative and just leaving their property to fester in the neighborhood, I think that the state sort of crafted this opportunity to address that issue, and that's sort of the basis behind this this action. Of course, conversations with our CEO also led to this one of each of these 3 agenda items. Madam Chair, as the committee has questions, either I or Ms. Agner
Yes,
would be happy to
definitely.
answer.
Yes, definitely. Commissioner Long-Spears?
I don't have questions now, but I would like to meet with the county attorneys to discuss further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Terry?
I don't have questions. I think that we've seen other jurisdictions approve similar ordinances. I imagine there are some sort of general templates. So to the extent that this draft is, in essence, what state law allows, I'm good with it. But happy to, be available if there's any additional information that we should know. Thank you.
We can approve this as to form. It complies with the state law.
All right, great.
May I, Commissioner?
Please.
I'd just like to add, for the benefit of the committee, I would recommend that you share this with the new housing czar, if you will, Dr. Ferguson, and give him an opportunity to give input. It could only help. He is relatively new to the county, and I just wanted to point out to the committee that I don't think he's had an opportunity to take a look at this. And frankly, I would include all of the housing-related matters, so you get the benefit of his expertise and input.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Deputy County Attorney Phillips. I completely agree, and that was the hope. And the intent was to try to schedule something in and around so that we could address all of these things collectively and be able to have the benefit of his expertise in it. Since he'll be, along with legal, actually implementing these things on so many levels. And to Supervising Attorney Agner, thank you so much for the work you've put in this as well. And thank you for mentioning the remediation steps in terms of, once, the issue has been resolved, what a individual would need to do in order to return back to that non-blighted status, because that issue of remediation becomes quite encompassing, particularly where people have to find themselves going back to court and being in front of a judge, particularly if they had to hire counsel and addressing the issue in the first place. So, looking forward to digging a little bit more and to be quite frank, me paying more attention and educating myself and maybe making a few suggestions where removing that title, if you will, could be a bit easier and doesn't necessitate a lengthy process or, a hefty financial lift, particularly if and when people are arguably spending the money to remediate the situation in the first place, then have to have counsel and take time from work to go to court just to have it, So just what that process would look like and working through that a bit more. But thank you all for all of your work and your energy and efforts in this. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just a quick comment.
Commissioner Long-Spears?
So I don't know what you guys want to move on this today, but I will abstain until I've had a chance to speak to law a little bit further about it.
Okay.
Well,
Or I can support a deferral for 2 weeks,
yeah,
whatever.
I think I was actually going to ask if 30 days would be
Perfect. That
appropriate.
would be best.
And that gives some people that I think probably would be involved in this, Tax Commissioner Irvin Johnson, Development Authority Dorian DeBar, Housing Authority Pete Walker, perhaps Frankie with DeKalb Chamber, our housing officer, and then Zach, if I can ask, on behalf of the CEO's office, this is at a comfortable spot for her to move forward with? We'll let you know. Okay, so I think if it's all right, 30 days would probably be appropriate to have this go out one more time and make sure everyone that would have a stake in this has an opportunity to weigh in on it.
And with that, I'm ready for a motion when you are.
Motion to defer for 30 days.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Commissioners, I need to thank Clark Candler in my office, who's sitting next to Deputy County Attorney Welch. He did a lot of the legwork on this one, and we appreciate his hard work.
Do appreciate you as well. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
All right, one more on this.
Yeah, we're good. If there's not unless there's something. Yes, absolutely. 2024. Again, for those following along with us, we're on page 3, the top of page 3 of the agenda. 2024-1239. All commission districts. An ordinance to amend the Code of DeKalb County, Georgia, as revised, 1988, Chapter 18, Article 3, property maintenance to establish minimum standards for vacant property, require property owners to apply for a board-up permit, and for other purposes. That's Deputy Attorney Phillips.
Commissioners, this item we feel is in a form that the law department could approve. We understand that both the planning department and the code compliance division have input that they would like to offer, and they have reviewed this and continue to consider how implementation would work. But that is the current status, Commissioner. So whatever the will is. I know Attorney Agner again, and I'll go ahead and do it. Attorney Gabriel Daniel worked closely with us. We're a team
Thank
in
you,
everything, you
Attorney
guys.
Daniel.
Attorney Agner is prepared to walk you through it if you would like that at this point, but that is the current status.
Madam Chair, we want to be respectful of time, so
Exactly. That, and to the extent that we're going to defer it, then appreciate your willingness to walk through it, but rather do it at a time where we can be more comprehensive about it. So with that, I will entertain a motion on agenda item ending in 1239.
Motion to, you want to do 30 days again?
30 days, and
Okay.
if we need
Makes
more
sense.
time, we can push it back.
Motion to defer for 30 days.
Second.
Proper first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So do you want to just, are your thoughts to have the deferral times similar, or, because if so, we can take them in tandem and be done in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Is
All
30
righty.
on the other?
So the next item, 2025-0681, all commission districts, resolution supporting the administration's decision to take action to recover land traded to Black Hall Real Estate Phase 2 LLC in its 221 land exchange with the DeKalb County and for other purposes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Derrick.
The administration continues their negotiations on this issue, and so at this time, I'll motion to defer for 60 days, if that's okay. County Attorney Linkus, seems like we might need that time, so motion to defer 0681 for 60 days.
Second.
Proper first and second. All those favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item, 2025- thank you so much. 2025-0015, all commission districts, an ordinance to amend the Code of DeKalb County, Georgia, Chapter 16, pertaining to the regulation of sound and for other purposes.
And move for action.
2025-0017, all commission districts, a resolution to create an electric landscape maintenance device rebate program to encourage switching from gas-powered landscape maintenance devices and for other lawful purposes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to defer items 0015 and 0017 for 30 days, and I have a comment.
Second.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Terry, for your motion to defer. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, and so committee members, well, first off, let me thank Commissioner Long-Spears, District 2 Commissioner, and her office for working with us and the Law Department on this for, a few months or so. But appreciations to Attorney Welch for providing a memo. I believe it was on Thursday or Friday last week that kind of went through the basics.
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay, all right. So that's why we're deferring, Madam Chair, because we want, now that we, I think, have gotten to a point where this can be, deliberated upon, what I'd ask is for the committee members, but certainly all the commissioners, Attorney Welch, please feel at liberty to get feedback from every commissioner. And I don't necessarily need to go through all the things. I'd rather this be a group effort to get any potential concerns out there in the open early so we can try to address them in a timely manner. And so during this 30 days, hopefully commissioners, we can read the memo, and then if the Law Department can just be available proactively and we'll work on that as with you, to ensure that each commissioner has a comfortableness of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yes, sir. So what I can do is just, I'll piggyback on the email that I sent with that memo, invite feedback, and following the theme of my colleagues, I would recognize Michael Petty is in the back. Michael is the attorney who actually did the legwork on this.
Thank you, Attorney Petty.
So I would like to acknowledge him, and yes, of course, we'll be available to address any concerns. And I hope the memo does a good job of laying out the differences between the current code and what's anticipated in this change or proposed by this change, but we're happy to go through and explain to each and every commissioner who's interested.
Okay, wonderful. And then just last comment, Attorney Welch. This particular, at least the changing of the sound ordinance, I think probably is going to have some community feedback. So could you just help us understand a good approach to public hearings, or how we would ensure that we give sort of the public enough time to weigh in as we're going through our process?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, we can talk about that.
Great, thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Terry, for recognizing that. I've been hearing some comments from the community as well, so I'm sure you have also. And I'll say that the best, or one of the best forms of appreciation is acknowledgement. So I am thankful to, particularly our law, where they're acknowledging the work of their other colleagues, particularly, when it comes to law. It's sort of dicey in terms of who gets credit for what. So that's a real show of leadership to make sure that, each of the folks that have been working hard to get these things done, which I know aren't easy by any stretch of the imagination, that they're acknowledged and you show appreciation. With that, we have exhausted our agenda, gotten through each and every item, and
Call the vote.
I'm sorry.
Those 2 items.
For those 2 items, there was a call, move for action, and
30-day deferral.
There we go, and I'll accept it. I'll take a motion, and so the motion on the table is for 30-day deferral. Is there a second?
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. I was trying to end this quickly, but yes, exhausted now, completely done. Appreciate all of you. And we have PECS. What time, Mr. Chair? I'm sorry, Fab.
We'll take a 5-minute break.
5-minute break. So it's 3:35. That would put us at 3:40. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, again for your time and your work. Thank you.
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn? Oh, okay, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.